So my cat is going through one of those phases where she's decided she hates her food and she refuses to eat it. The only problem is I have a whole bunch of that food still. So does your cat do that? Does your cat suddenly decide it doesn't like its favorite food? Such an annoying thing. So that's what I've been dealing with this week. So I'm here to change your life today and to tell you guys the secret of how to solve any problem. Yes, I'm going to give you a formula that can help you break down any problem and make it sort of magically disappear, or at least make you magically feel better about it. So if you want to find out what this process is, then be sure to keep watching. Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, I am a spiritual life and business coach, and this is my YouTube channel where I create content for you guys twice a week, all about combining spirituality and personal development together so that you can use these two tools to create your best life. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, then go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Problems, problems, problems. Like if anyone ever comes to a life coach, they are coming to a life coach with a problem. So I can tell you that problems are basically what makes my world go around. And I understand that. Of course, we are all basically taught to look for problems in the world. And it's not only that we're taught to look for problems in the world, that's actually the way our brain operates. Our brain is hardwired to look for things it needs to solve, because your brain is trying to keep you safe, and your brain is trying to make sense out of the world even when the world around us doesn't make sense. So in a way, your brain is always looking for that thing to get upset about or obsess about or get stressed about or get angry about, because that's its job. Its job is to look for problems. Its job is to solve problems. Its job is to keep you safe. But of course, all of you people probably know by now that problems don't feel good. Problems can be really chaotic. They can leave us feeling powerless, and they can really upset our life. And when there's something big happening in our world, our problems can feel overwhelming. So today I'm going to share with you a very simple and straightforward framework to help you reframe your problems, because this is the kind of stuff that every single person on the planet can use. This is a very simple thing that I learned from Brooke Castillo of the Life Coach School. It has really shifted the way I see the world, and I use this with my clients. I use this on myself. I use this on everything. And if you don't know this process, then yes, today is definitely going to change your life. The process that I'm going to share with you guys today is simply called the model. And it is a very easy process. You're just going to need a piece of paper and a pen to write things down. So I'm going to get you to write things down because, of course, you could do this in your brain, but I think it is easier when you're trying to solve a problem, when you're trying to unravel something. Looking at it on a piece of paper gives you a little bit of distance between what is happening in here and what is happening in the real world. And that can help you to come up with the new way of seeing things, which is really what we're trying to do. We're trying to see the world in a new way. When you see the world in a new way, the world you see changes. The problem is when we are stuck in a problem, we are so embedded in it. We are so attached to this idea, this story, that it is almost impossible for us to see our way out of it. So this process, this model, is going to help give you a tool to get out of it. Feeling stuck, feeling miserable, feeling angry, feeling helpless, feeling all these things, it isn't good, and you do not have to feel this way, okay? So before we dive into the model itself, I just want to put this out there that everything that comes into our world, like, we are just responsible for our side, right? We are responsible for our perceptions about it. And I know that when you're going through life and something happens and you have a reaction, it seems like that thing is what's causing your reaction. But it isn't really that thing that's causing your reaction. What is really happening, if you slow things down and look at it, is that you are creating a story. And it is your story that you wrote really, really quickly in your mind. That's the thing that is hurting you. And if you can go in and figure out what that story is, then you can also find the power to change it. And when you have the power to change it, that means your whole world changes. You no longer have to feel like a victim. You no longer have to try to control and manipulate maybe people in your world because you think that that's what you need to do in order to be happy. you can just let life happen and you can still feel good no matter what is happening. Like for example, in this coronavirus time that we're in right now, when I'm recording this, you can still feel good. You can still shift your perspective and feel good about your life. And why wouldn't you want to give yourself that power, right? Why wouldn't you want to learn how to do that? Okay, so with that all being said, let's get into the actual model, which I'm here to teach you today. So what is going to happen now is we're going to use this model called CTFAR. So I'm going to get you to write down on a piece of paper. I'm going to give you what it actually stands for. That is going to help you to begin with. So take a piece of paper, and at the top you're going to write your C word, which is a circumstance. Then you are going to write your T word, which is your thoughts. Then you are going, so don't worry about filling this in, just fill it out the way I'm telling you right now. And the next thing you're going to write is F, feeling. The next thing you are going to write is A, action. And the last thing you're going to write is R, results. So if you're doing this for the first time, I'd suggest putting the word down so you're not trying to remember what each thing is. So it's going to be a piece of paper with 5 words written on it. So circumstance, thought, feeling, action, result, okay? And then a lot of a blank space. So we can now take this and use this system to figure out where we have gone wrong, right? So like I said already, the circumstances in the world are neutral. The things that happen around us in the world are neutral. Even when somebody is doing something to you, that is still a neutral thing. That is their action, and you get to decide on what you make that thing mean. That doesn't mean you have to approve of everything. That doesn't mean you have to accept everything that happens to you, but you can create a narrative that is more empowering probably than the one that you have right now. So we're gonna take this and apply this to your problem. So say for example, you are having an issue with your boss at work, right? So maybe your boss you feel like your boss is ignoring you. So when your boss ignores you, then you feel like your work is undervalued, and that leaves you maybe resenting your work, maybe not doing the right kind of work, or putting in your work on time or something like that, right? So we can kind of see that this is a problem with a person, with our feelings, with the actions. So let's go ahead and put that into the model. So in this situation, the circumstance, which is a neutral thing, would be not my boss isn't paying attention to me or my boss is ignoring me. It would be my boss isn't giving me the feedback that I would like, right? So even in the story, this is the part that messes people up. Even already in the story, even in the thing that we're telling ourselves is true about the world, usually we're already putting a story on that, right? So can you extract the actual behavior of this person from the story that you are creating, right? So this circumstance would be my boss is not giving me the feedback that I prefer. That is the neutral circumstance. So your thought, the next line, your thought about this circumstance is, because this person isn't giving me the feedback I want, I feel that they are overlooking me. So that is your thought, okay? That is the story you've created, that's the narrative. So the next line is your feeling. So your feeling is, I'm feeling overlooked, I'm feeling neglected, I feel like what I'm doing doesn't matter, I'm feeling helpless. Okay, so one of those things can go in the feeling line. The next line is the action. So that is what you're doing now because this thing has happened. So you feel like your boss is ignoring you. So in retaliation, consciously or not, maybe you're not showing up as your best self, or maybe you are ignoring that person back, or maybe you are turning in your work late, or whatever it is. So put that in your action line, and then you can fill in the results. So what is the result of your actions? What is happening from you creating this action? So if you aren't turning in your work, then maybe your boss is getting upset with you. Maybe if you are ignoring your boss, maybe they are creating distance. So we can kind of see how there is something that happened, there is a thought that we had about it, and how that comes back and it becomes an action that we then perpetrate. And it usually ends up kind of, the two ends sort of tie together, because what usually happens is the result that we're creating, the action that we're creating, it ends up being something that ends up triggering this thing, which creates an endless loop, right? And that is a really not a great place to be. So now we filled out this model and you're probably looking at it and thinking, well, what's the big deal here? Like, I could probably have figured this out on my own. You probably wouldn't have like figured out these little individual things on your own, but now that you're looking at it, nothing has changed. You're just figuring out where you're feeling bad, okay? So that is the first step, is to take your current situation, take the problem you're thinking about and fill it out in this way and try to do it neutrally as possible. Remember to keep your thoughts and your feelings out of the circumstance and be really realistic about your results and your actions and what you are creating from this thought and this feeling. Okay, that's step one. So now I want to get you to grab out a second piece of paper and you're going to write down the same things all over again. So this time you can write down the letters CTFAR, or circumstance, thought, feeling, action, results. Okay, so a blank piece of paper. So I want you to write at the top the exact same circumstance that you had on the first page, because we're not changing the circumstance. Your boss is still going to do what your boss is going to do because they're a separate person. The point of this exercise isn't to change them. So write down the circumstance again. But now I want you to come to the feeling line. I want you to go to the feeling line and I want you to write down what you want to feel about this situation. Now that you can see that this thing is neutral, now that you can see that your thought is the thing that was causing you to think this way, to feel this way, to take certain actions, and then to perpetrate your results, what do you want to feel? How do you want to feel in this situation? So maybe you, again, are still feeling like your boss is not giving you what you need or what you feel like you deserve. But how do you really want to feel about that? How would you want to decide on feeling about that for yourself, okay? So I know in the moment things go fast. It's hard to do this in the moment. But now that you're sitting down and thinking about it, how do you want to feel? Who do you want to be in a situation? What do you want to take away from this? So you can decide to see that your boss isn't doing exactly what you would prefer, and you can decide that that is okay anyway, and that maybe even if this person isn't doing what you want them to do, maybe the problem is that you should be going and asking them for this feedback, or maybe you should be putting more stuff in their way, setting up more meetings, doing extra projects or something like that. So you can see now maybe how this can work backwards. So if you get to the feeling you want, like what is the thought that you have to think? So put in how you want to feel, put in the thought that you need to believe, and then fill in your desired action and your desired results. So what action can you take from this new empowered thought and this new empowered feeling? And then what results can you possibly get from this new empowered thought and this new empowered feeling? So you can really start to change your circumstances simply by changing what you believe, simply by changing your thoughts and your feelings, because at the end of the day, we are all incredibly emotional creatures. We all think that we're logical. We all think we act on logic, but what we really act on is feeling. And feeling comes from our thoughts, and you are the one in control of your thoughts. I know that the first time you do this, you're going to think, this does not apply to me. I know that you're going to try to go through this and think that there's no way that this works. People usually get stuck between the thought and the circumstance and mix them up, or they put the circumstance in the wrong place. But I can guarantee you, if you learn how to slow down and how to do this correctly, and you can learn to differentiate the actual facts of the real world, which is the circumstance, versus your thoughts about the real world, that is where you find all your power. And once you realize all the power is within you, like I said, it's not so much then you have to chase around people and make them do or say what you want them to do. You can decide to think differently. Then you can decide to feel differently. And then you will automatically create different results based on those thoughts and feelings. This really is a magical, game-changing solution. Like I said, I use this on my clients. I've learned this from an amazing coach. I definitely recommend listening to the Life Coach School podcast. If you haven't, this is where I originally got that from. But this one little tip can really change the way you interact with the world. and give you your power back in such a spectacular way. So I hope that you enjoyed this video today. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you like this today, please do me a favor, give it a like. If you want to learn even more from me, I have an amazing free class for you guys right now. It's called Play the Money Manifestation Game over on my website. I'd love for you to come play this game with me and learn a little bit about changing your money mindset. So I'll leave a link for that in the description below. If you want to watch more from me, you can hit my latest upload here. And if you want to hang out for the long haul, subscribe right here. I'll see you guys back here in the next one. So until then, as always, just remember, get ready for the miracle. See you guys.